After the age of 50, the time when a lifetime's karma begins to reveal itself, wholesome causes ripen into blessings. Unwholesome causes ripen into karmic burdens. Hello everyone. Welcome to Mind Podcast, Buddhism. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, contemplate your life like a person holding a mirror to the face, to see clearly every mark imprinted upon it. When we look into a mirror, we only notice wrinkles, hair color, and our eyes, and we think those are the traces of time. But for one who cultivates, that mirror also reflects the traces of the mind, the wholesome or unwholesome intentions we have sown in the first half of life. For cause and effect never err. Blessings or bad karma quietly follow us like a shadow. Youth is like a fresh morning, full of sunlight and energy. We step into life with many dreams, many ambitions, and a strong urge to conquer. We believe our strength will never run out, and time will never pass so quickly. But one day, when we pass the age of 50, we realize the sun has already climbed past its zenith. We have gone through many rainy and sunny seasons, carrying countless stories, and we begin to enter the harvest season of life. This is no longer the time to scatter seeds recklessly. It is the time to look back at what seeds we have sown and what fruits we are now reaping. Those who have merit at this age need not speak much about the past, for their virtue is evident in their lives. Dutiful children and grandchildren, a harmonious family, sound health, a serene heart. By contrast, some enter this age feeling lonely, with declining health, estranged children, and a mind full of regret. Why do the outcomes differ so much for people of the same age and similar life journeys? The Buddha taught that every difference begins with the seeds we have sown in the past through our words, actions, and intentions. After 50, a person's life is like a tree that has blossomed, with seeds fallen to the earth. Some good seeds sprout into shade and fruit. Some bad seeds grow into thorns that block our way. No one but ourselves chose which seeds to sow. No one but ourselves will reap the harvest. This sounds simple, but to see it clearly and accept it requires great courage. The courage to look at the truth and to face oneself. Some people live carelessly in their youth, thinking life is long and mistakes can be fixed later. But karma does not operate according to our delays. A seed sown in the ground does not wait until we are ready to sprout. If the seed is wholesome, it will bloom into a beautiful flower. If the seed is unwholesome, it will grow into a bitter tree. And at some point, that bitter tree will bear fruit, and we will taste what we have planted. That is why from 50 onward is the time to face the truth of our life. Buddhist teaching calls this the stage of immediate retribution, when the results of what we have caused in this very life begin to ripen, without waiting for a future rebirth. It appears in our health, in the eyes of our children and grandchildren, in how friends and the world treat us. It shows up in each night's sleep, whether it is peaceful or restless with fear. It shows up at every meal, whether it is warm and convivial or eaten in quiet solitude. The ancients said, calamity and blessing have no gate. Only people themselves summon them. The recompense of good and evil follows like a shadow. Misfortune or good fortune does not come of itself, nor is there a door through which it enters our home. All of it is invited by our own hearts and actions. And the return of good or evil is like our shadow. Wherever we go, it follows. There is no escape. If we understand this, we will stop resenting circumstances and stop blaming others. Everything we have today, whether blessing or misfortune, is the result of ourselves. And everything we will have in the future begins with what we are doing right now. Some say an easy or difficult old age depends on whether one's children are filial or unfilial. But the Buddha taught, children are only conditions. The result still comes from the causes we ourselves have sown. If, as children, we honored our parents, loved them, and cared for them, then when we become parents, we are more likely to be honored and loved. Conversely, if as children we were indifferent, careless, even disrespectful, that cause will wait until we become parents to bear fruit. This is a quiet yet unfailingly precise law, not deviating by even a hair's breadth. By the time we reach 50, most of us have experienced both roles, being a child and being a parent. Looking back, we may be startled to see our children looking at us just as we once looked at our parents. Karma does not punish us. It merely returns to us exactly what we once gave. 50 is not the end, but it is a bend in the road of life. It is the time when we have enough experience to know that health is not inexhaustible, time is not long, and our chances to plant new causes are fewer than before. If we have sown wholesome causes, let us continue to nurture them so that blessings endure. If we have sown unwholesome causes, let us promptly amend them, for any seed can be transformed. If we care for it with a wholesome heart, the Buddha taught that sincere resolve can move heaven and earth and transform even bad karma. No one is ever too late to reform, so long as one truly wishes to. All it takes is that each day we look back at ourselves as if into a mirror, notice the specks of dust on the mirror of the heart, and gently wipe them away, again and again, until the mirror shines once more, so we can see not only our face, but also a clear, bright heart. And to begin transforming karma and bringing forth happiness, the Buddha taught that we should first return to cultivate the 4 roots of blessing, the first of which is filial devotion to our parents. Filial piety is not only a duty, it is the first seed for a harmonious family and for descendants who know love and respect. If we want our old age to be tranquil, then today let us plant the cause of reverence for our parents, not only with words, but with our whole heart. The ancients said, of 100 virtues, filial piety comes first. The Buddha also taught that among the 4 great debts of gratitude in a human life, the debt to one's parents is the first to repay. Parents gave us this body, raised us from infancy until we could walk, speak, laugh, and become a person. Without parents, this body would not exist, this life would not begin. Therefore, filial devotion is not only moral principle, but also the root of merit and virtue, a mirror reflecting the destiny of ourselves and of our descendants. Filial piety is not confined to supporting parents in their old age, nor only to gifts or visiting on holidays. Filial piety is a warm atmosphere that radiates from our daily attitude, from our words, our eyes, our gestures toward our parents. It is the patience we show when they have grown old, easily irritable, forgetful, or prone to repeating old stories. It is cherishing the simple meals they cook and listening even when the tale has been told many times. Many people think filial piety is a big matter that can only be practiced when we are well off. In truth, filial devotion begins with the smallest things. A respectful greeting, a daily inquiry, a gentle hand clasp, a loving look. All of these are filial piety. And when these small things are nurtured day by day, they become wholesome seeds sown in the hearts of our children and grandchildren. One day, when we are old, those seeds will ripen into good fruit. Filial devotion is not a dry obligation. It is a path that plants blessings. Those blessings do not only protect us, they spread to our descendants. A daughter-in-law who respects her mother-in-law teaches her own daughter to respect her future mother-in-law. A son who loves his mother teaches his own son to love his mother. Everything spreads like widening circles, beginning from a single thought of filial reverence. There is one thing worth remembering. True filial piety does not need to wait until our parents are frail, nor does it require special circumstances to begin. One gentle word, one moment of holding back our anger, one afternoon sitting together over a cup of tea, these are wholesome seeds that will sooner or later blossom. When we are filial to our parents, we are tending the greatest root of blessing in life. Yet within the home, parents are not the only relationship we must cherish. Our life partner, the one who has walked with us through sun and rain, is also an important part of the karmic bond we formed over many past lives. The Buddha taught that husband and wife never meet by accident. They meet either to repay a debt, to repay kindness, or to repay shared debts carried over from the past. If we cultivate skillfully, whatever the bond may be, we can transform it into a wholesome affinity and a safe support for each other in the second half of life. When a couple first meets, they usually come together because of love. Love is like the morning sunlight, warm and fresh, yet easy to fade if not tended. By contrast, meaning is what crystallizes from years of weathering storms together, of sharing hardship, of holding hands without letting go when difficulties surround us. Love can begin with a glance or a smile, but this deeper bond is formed only through moments of yielding, of placing shared happiness above the individual ego. Many young people love passionately, and vow to go to life's end together. Yet only a few years later they become strangers. Why is that? Because love was not large enough to ripen into that deeper bond, and before it could form, it was eroded by words, resentments, and selfishness. On the other hand, there are couples who are neither showy nor overly sweet in words, yet when old they are still side by side, still calling each other by tender names, still watching over one another as if afraid to lose each other. That is when love has settled into a bond of meaning, a cord so strong that nothing can cut it. In a human life, that simple thank you is the greatest reward. In the scriptures, the Buddha once said that a good wife and a good husband living in harmony is a great blessing in this world. For husband and wife are the closest mirror for children to imitate. If parents preserve that deeper bond, children will learn it. If parents know how to yield, children will learn to value harmony. Conversely, if a couple quarrels and grows cold day after day, the children will absorb that behavior, and the seeds of discord will be sown into future generations. Preserving the marital bond does not lie only in grand gestures. Often it is found in what seems very small, a gentle word instead of a curt one, a moment of silence instead of arguing to the end, a hand clasp when the other is weary, a shared meal waited for and eaten together. If such things are kept through the years, they weave a lasting bond. That bond is what holds two people when passion fades, when health declines, when beauty is no longer as before. A friend once shared that she and her husband nearly divorced because of accumulated misunderstandings. Then she remembered the nights he stayed awake caring for their sick child, the days they scraped together every coin to pay off debt. She asked herself whether she could leave someone who had suffered for her like that. So instead of giving up, she chose to sit down and talk, to forgive, and to mend each crack together with her husband. Now, as both are nearing 60, she says they no longer have as much fire as in youth. Yet there is a small lamp that always burns quietly, enough to light the way for each other to life's end. Husband and wife are a karmic affinity, but if that affinity is not nourished by a deeper bond, it will fade. That deeper bond is the deepest part, the most enduring, and the greatest blessing that two people can keep for each other. When we understand that our partner is not just the person who shares our house, but the one who shares our karma, we will cherish more, be more patient, compare less, and demand less. Once the cause of that bond is planted, the fruit of blessing comes not only to ourselves, but radiates to our children and grandchildren. From the marital relationship, blessing and karma flow into another realm. The realm where daily speech can lift up or destroy, where a wholesome word can dissolve long-standing resentments, where the virtue of speech becomes a protective shield that keeps the family in peace. This is what we will speak about next, living kindly and guarding the virtue of speech. For even if one is filial to parents and faithful to a spouse, untrained words can still wound and cause everything to be lost. A family is like a garden. If filial piety is the soil and the marital bond is the trees, then kindness and the virtue of speech are the air and light that nourish them. Good soil with poisonous air still leaves trees withered. A loving couple whose words are like knives still leaves children hurt. We often focus on deeds and forget that words also create karma, and sometimes the karma of speech moves faster and strikes harder than the karma of action. There are families that seem complete from the outside, with good children and stable finances, yet inside every sentence is full of thorns. Parents speak to children with sarcasm, children answer back with roughness, husband and wife exchange barbs. Each such word is a small arrow shot into affection, into trust, into respect. At first the wound is not visible, but accumulated over time, the bond is pierced and blessings are depleted. The Buddha taught about verbal karma, one of the three major kinds of karma human beings often create. Verbal karma has four forms: lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle or useless speech. Whenever we let these words pour out, we not only plant bad causes in the listener, we also plant suffering for ourselves. For speech is the echo of the mind. A kind heart yields gentle words. An angry mind yields words like fire. I once knew a family in which both husband and wife were diligent and provided well for their child. But the husband had a hot temper. Whenever things displeased him, he shouted at his wife and child. At first the wife endured it, thinking that as long as he handled the finances, it was acceptable. Yet over the years, their daughter gradually grew distant from her father and no longer wanted to talk to him, afraid of his voice raised in anger. Later, when he became seriously ill and was hospitalized, the daughter still cared for him, but her eyes were no longer warm as before. Only then did he understand that harsh words had cost him something money could never buy back. To live kindly is not only about great deeds. It begins with how we think about others and how we treat the people around us. Kindness is putting ourselves in another's place before we speak or act. Kindness is holding back words that would cause pain. Even when we are angry, kindness is praising and encouraging more than criticizing. Guarding the virtue of speech is part of living kindly. The ancients said, "Words cost nothing. Choose them so they please the listener." Yet preserving the virtue of speech does not mean uttering flattering, insincere words. It means speaking at the right time and in the right place, and speaking in ways that bring benefit and peace. Sometimes preserving the virtue of speech means choosing silence, for timely silence can dissolve many conflicts and prevent many injustices. A small story I never forget. An old woman selling from a street stall was scolded by a customer who thought she had short-weighted the goods. She did not argue. She simply smiled and said, "If you think it is short, please take a little more until it is enough." The customer then realized the mistake and returned to apologize. One gentle sentence ended a quarrel and kept both from creating further verbal karma. When, within a family, people speak kind words in a warm tone and avoid hurting one another, that is the best soil for blessings to grow. Children raised in such an environment learn composure, attentive listening, and respect for others. That is the quiet blessing we sow for the generations to come. When we live kindly and guard the virtue of speech, our mind gradually learns contentment. Many conflicts and many hurtful words begin with greed, the desire to force others to conform to us, the desire for life to be perfect according to our own ideas. When we know contentment, we demand less, we impose less, and naturally our words become gentler. Contentment does not mean stopping or refusing to strive. It means valuing what we already have and not trading away ethics and inner peace to chase what is vain. A contented person lives at ease, without envy or jealousy, and from that ease blessings grow thicker. This opens the door to the next step on the path, knowing what is enough and loosening greed and anger, so that the twilight years are peaceful like a soft sunset. As we live kindly and guard the virtue of speech, the mind becomes lighter. That lightness is good soil for a precious seed to sprout, the seed of contentment. Many conflicts and much suffering arise because we do not feel satisfied with what we already have. A person who lacks contentment is like someone standing at the ocean's edge, trying to scoop water into cupped hands. The more they scoop, the more it slips away. Surrounded by good things, they see only what is missing, and their heart never rests. By contrast, a contented person is like someone sitting quietly by a stream, sipping cool water without worrying that the stream will run dry. They trust that if they drink only what is needed, the stream will flow on. Contentment is not giving up effort, it is knowing when to stop. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught that one who knows contentment, even lying on the ground, still finds peace, while one who does not know contentment, even in heaven, still feels deprived. When we know contentment, greed naturally subsides, and when greed subsides, anger also lessens, for anger is often the reaction of a mind that has not been satisfied. I recall a story about Uncle Nam, a farmer in the countryside. He lived in a small house with little land, yet each season's crops were enough, and his family never lacked food. Whenever he sold some vegetables, he set aside a share to help a poorer neighbor. Someone asked whether he did not want to get rich. He only smiled and said, "Wealth is fine, but I fear becoming rich and losing joy. My joy is seeing my wife and children healthy, hearing crickets at night as I fall asleep, and waking to the morning sun. That is enough." It sounds simple. Few truly live this way because greed often whispers, "Just a little more." That little more then stretches into a lifetime of weariness. We chase possessions and fame, forgetting that time for ourselves and our loved ones is running out. By the time we realize it, our parents may already be old, our children already grown, affection already faded, and our health already spent. Contentment also means knowing how to let go, letting go of unrealistic expectations of others, letting go of endless comparisons, letting go of old emotional debts and the resentments and reproaches we cling to. Letting go is not neglect. It is the clear understanding that there are people and things we cannot change, and the more we force it, the more we suffer. Those who do not know how to let go live in constant complaint. They blame people for failing to meet expectations, blame life for unfairness, blame fate for being incomplete, yet complaint never lightens the heart. Those who know how to let go are different. They see that life is impermanent and that everyone must pass through loss. What we truly keep is not everything itself, but the way we hold the mind amid all change. A neighbor of mine was very wealthy when young, but a bad investment cost her almost everything. At first, she collapsed into despair and bitterness, shutting herself in her room. One day, she heard a saying, "What is lost was never truly mine. What remains is what is truly mine." She looked again and saw that she still had health, family by her side, and hands with which to begin again. Slowly, she recovered, switched to growing vegetables to sell at the market. She was not as wealthy as before, but she said, "Now I sleep well, and meals taste good. I understood that contentment is wealth." Contentment does not mean abandoning dreams. We can still dream and still strive. Yet with contentment, we do not lose ourselves along the way. If the dream has not come true, we can still rejoice in what we have. If the dream does come true, we know when to stop, and we do not let new desires drag us endlessly onward. In Buddhism, contentment is part of knowing enough. Try to see. It is not only a belief, it is a form of wisdom. When we know enough, the mind becomes still. When the mind is still, wisdom shines. When wisdom shines, we know what to keep and what to release. At that point, greed no longer remains, and anger finds no way in. Thus, from filial devotion to parents, to faithfulness between husband and wife, to living kindly and guarding the virtue of speech, to knowing enough and letting go of greed and anger, all are steps on the path of accumulating blessings and lightening karma. If we set out early on this path, old age becomes peaceful like evening time, sitting on the porch listening to the wind through the areca palms, with a light heart and nothing left to bind us. After 50, a human life is like a field past the sowing season. Which trees have set deep roots, which flowers have opened, which fruits have ripened, all are now visible. This is also when the 4 kinds of karma that have been sown over many years begin to surface, no longer hidden and no longer avoidable. The wise see this and correct themselves, transforming karma into happiness. Those who lack wisdom see only suffering, blame life, and do not recognize that the source lies within themselves. First, bodily karma, illness and decline. This body is the boat that carries us across a lifetime. If we care for and maintain it, the boat will be steady. If we neglect it, the boat will tear and water will flood in. Bodily karma shows itself most clearly after 50, when our vigor is no longer what it was in youth. Long-standing habits of eating, working, resting, and spending down our health begin to bear fruit. Those who live in moderation, keep a peaceful mind, know how to let go, and desire little often have supple bodies and lighter illness. Those who live in haste, eat irregularly, sleep too little, and let the mind be tangled in worry will find the body sounding the alarm early. What is notable is that many physical illnesses do not come only from dietary habits, but from emotions that have not been transformed over many years. I remember a relative who, when young, was very successful in business but had a hot temper, quick to anger and quick to compete. For years he lived in a state of tension, always worried about guarding his money and wary of others. After 55, he developed heart disease and hypertension. He lamented that the illness was inherited from his parents, but in truth it had been quietly formed from seeds of anger and insecurity, not merely from heredity. The Buddha taught, bodily illness arises from bodily indulgence. Mental illness arises from delusion of the mind. Many people overindulge the body, overeating, overworking, indulging harmful habits, and panic only when the body signals danger. Yet many others care for the body while neglecting the mind, letting the mind stray in delusion, feeding afflictions, generating spiritual toxins. Over time, those toxins seep into the blood and the vital energies and become illness. Bodily karma after 50 is a mirror reflecting how we have treated ourselves. If we love ourselves in the right way, not indulging desire but nourishing a healthy body and mind, the result is bodily ease. If we neglect or abuse ourselves, the body will abandon us before life is done. Second, mental karma, loneliness, and insecurity. Some people in old age still live among children and grandchildren, their homes full of laughter, yet their hearts are lonely. Others live alone and yet feel at ease, without emptiness. The difference lies in mental karma, the result of what we have nourished in our inner life. Those who have lived selfishly, caring only for themselves and rarely for others, often feel abandoned in old age even when people are nearby, because that mind has long practiced closing itself, unwilling to open to give and receive love. Those with light mental karma are usually those who can love unconditionally, who know how to care and listen. In old age, they are like great trees to which birds return. The young seek them out, for they radiate an energy that draws people near. By contrast, those who carry much resentment, jealousy, and dissatisfaction feel ill at ease wherever they are and push themselves into isolation. I once knew an elderly woman over 80 who lived alone, no husband, no children. Yet her house was busy every day, from neighbor ladies to the neighborhood children. She said, "I have nothing to give anyone, only a smile and an ear." And still people came. That is wholesome mental karma, the fruit of a life lived with an open heart. Third, family karma, unfilial children and a cold marriage. The family is the soil where causes are sown quickly and their fruits seen most clearly. After 50, if we have been parents and spouses, the seeds we planted in the family begin to ripen. Those who in youth honored their parents and lived faithfully with their spouse are often repaid in old age by dutiful children and a partner at their side. Those who were indifferent to their parents, took love lightly, or inflicted many wounds on the family often receive coldness in return when they grow old, even discord. Fourth, social karma, being disliked and isolated. Society is a wider circle of cause and effect than the family. The way we treat friends, colleagues, neighbors, and the community will return to us in old age. Those who help others, live humbly, and respect people are still visited and assisted when they grow weak. Those who live selfishly, take advantage, speak ill of others, and compete endlessly will find few who stand with them when they are in need. Understanding these four kinds of karma that show clearly after 50, we see one thing: not everyone can avoid adversity. Even if we have planted many wholesome causes, life will still at times place us in trials. Yet it is precisely in difficult moments that our true quality appears. If we can be mindful in adversity, keeping the mind steady and not surrendering to suffering, then adversity becomes a great merit, helping us advance on the path of practice and merit-making. Adversity is like fire. It can burn things to ash, but it can also refine gold. The unmindful, encountering suffering, complain, resist, and look for escape. The mindful person, encountering suffering, looks deeply into it, sees the cause clearly, accepts it as part of cause and effect, and from there finds a way to transform it. One kind of adversity dries up the heart, another kind polishes the intellect till it shines. There was an elder named Lamb whom I once met at a temple. He had been a fairly well-off businessman, but a business upheaval took almost all his assets. At 52, he had to start again from nothing. At first he collapsed, unable to sleep night after night. One day his son took him to the temple, where he happened to hear the teacher say, "Suffering does not come to harm us. It comes to teach us something. If, when suffering comes, we only try to avoid it, we will meet it again in another form. If, when suffering comes, we look straight at it, we will see the door of liberation open." Lamb said. Those words rang like a bell in my heart. He began to contemplate his life and saw that for years he had lived with too much ambition and rarely with true joy. He accepted the loss as an opportunity to relearn how to live. He moved to smaller work, spent more time at the temple, practiced meditation, and chanted sutras. Though his material circumstances did not return to what they were, he said, "I am richer than before, because now I am no longer afraid of losing anything." Being mindful in adversity does not mean passively enduring. It is the active keeping of inner peace so that we can see the right direction, like a boatman in a storm. If he panics, he drops the oars or rows wildly, and the boat capsizes. If he calmly observes the waves and wind, knowing when to avoid and when to advance, he can still reach shore. The Buddha taught that the mind is like the earth. It receives everything but keeps none for itself. When our mind is as wide as the earth, praise and blame, favorable and unfavorable conditions are like sun and rain passing by. The earth does not resent the rain nor hate the sun. It quietly nourishes the seeds. So too with the mindful. They are not swept away by gossip, nor drowned by suffering. They know how to use every experience, even suffering, to nourish wisdom and compassion. There is an elderly woman in my village, over 70, whose son and daughter-in-law abandoned her. She lives alone in a small house. Neighbors, out of pity, invited her to move in with them, but she only smiled. I'm used to it here. As long as I still breathe, I will chant the Buddha's name and recite sutras. When I'm sad, I look at the plants and the clouds. People asked why she did not resent her children. She said, perhaps in a past life I too was a parent and failed my duty. I'm repaying it now. Why keep anger to weigh down the heart? Everyone who heard her was moved. She is not rich in money, but she is rich in peace. Mindfulness in adversity helps us avoid creating more karma. When we suffer, if we react with anger and blame, we are sowing more unwholesome causes. If we keep the mind clear, respond with patience and compassion, we are sowing wholesome causes. Adversity will pass, but the merit born of a right attitude remains, nourishing us and those around us. In particular, mindfulness in suffering can spread peace. A father who stays calm when the family faces hardship passes confidence to his children. A mother who is patient in illness plants the seed of forbearance in her child. A husband and wife who do not abandon each other in storms plant in their descendants a lesson in loyalty and affection. Therefore, whenever adversity comes, instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That question opens wisdom instead of closing the heart. That wisdom will carry us through suffering gently, so that when we look back, we feel gratitude even for adversity. Mindfulness in adversity is a great kind of merit, because it not only transforms our own suffering, it also helps those around us suffer less. Such merit is not measured by how much money we spend, it is measured by the strength of the mind. If we can stand in the storm and keep a lamp burning, that lamp will light our way through the rest of life. So each step is steady and each breath at peace. If you are suffering because of family, know that you are not alone. Almost everyone has relationships that weigh on the heart. It may be parents who do not understand us, a marriage in discord, stubborn children, or quarrels among siblings. Because they are our kin, the suffering runs deeper, since those bonds are not easily cut like a friendship or a casual acquaintance. Suffering with family often makes us want both closeness and distance. Being close feels exhausting. Being far brings longing or guilt. Many say, if this were a stranger, I would have left long ago. Because they are kin, leaving feels impossible, yet staying feels uneasy. If this knot is not untied, it becomes a lifelong burden on the spirit. The Buddha taught that relatives are major karmic conditions. They may be wholesome affinities that support us, or karmic adversaries to whom we owe debts. If the bond is wholesome, their presence brings peace. If it is adversarial, their presence comes with trials. If we look carefully, we will see that the trial itself is the opportunity to practice. We do not have to practice somewhere far away or wait to enter a temple. We practice in each word, each reaction, each contact. I knew a woman named Fong who suffered for years because of a strict mother-in-law. At first, she tried every way to please her, yet the more she tried, the more the elder criticized. She complained, grew angry, and wept. One day at the temple, she heard the teacher say, "The one who makes us suffer gives us a chance to look back at ourselves. Without them, we would not know how lacking we are in patience and forbearance." She went home and tried to change. Instead of striving to please, she learned to stay calm when criticized, to listen without reacting quickly. Little by little, she suffered less, because her peace no longer depended on her mother-in-law's mood. Suffering with loved ones often comes from wanting them to change according to our wishes. In truth, we cannot control another person's mind. The more we force, the more tired we become. The only way is to change how we receive them. This does not mean accepting injustice or wrong. It means keeping the mind from being swept into a cycle of resentment. If you suffer because of parents, remember that they too are victims of karmic forces and habits carried from the past. They may have done things that hurt you, but most often it is because they do not know how to love, not because they do not love you. If you suffer because of your spouse, look back to the days of love between you. Return to the root of that bond and see whether patience and listening can save it. If you suffer because of your children, remember that they are also learning how to be human, and that you yourself once made similar mistakes. A friend told me he once had such a deep conflict with his father that they did not speak for 2 years. On the day his mother died, his father sat alone, eyes empty. My friend suddenly realized that no amount of anger was worth it because there was so little time left. He went and sat beside his father, said nothing, and poured him a cup of tea. From that day, the distance began to close. He said it was not his father who changed first, it was that he no longer needed to win every argument. Suffering with loved ones is a chance to learn 3 things: patience, compassion, and letting go. Patience keeps us from making things worse. Compassion lets us see them as beings who are suffering, not only as the ones who make us suffer. Letting go keeps us from clinging to what has passed like an unhealed scar. If we practice these 3, we not only suffer less, we also gain great merit, because turning enmity into affinity is among the highest practices. Remember, blessings in a family do not come from who is right or wrong. They come from who yields a step and who keeps harmony. Yielding is not losing, it is winning over oneself. Keeping harmony is not fear, it is understanding that discord only piles karma upon karma. Most important of all, do not wait for relatives to change before you release your suffering. If you wait, you may wait your whole life. Free yourself by changing yourself first. When our mind is at peace, we can be peaceful even if others have not changed. Strangely, when we are truly at peace, they often change of their own accord. If you are suffering because of family, see it as your personal karmic lesson and your chance to train the mind. Ask, if this is the debt I must repay, how can I repay it so that both of us are lighter? The answer will lead you out of the loop of anger and blame, toward a gentler life and a heart with more merit. When we see the suffering in our family relationships and understand that it is not there to punish us but to remind us, we begin to see a new door. It is the door of letting go and reconciliation. Suffering truly ends only when the mind is willing to release. Letting go here does not mean abandoning or cutting off. It means putting down resentment, excessive expectations, and the illusion that others must live according to our wishes. It means no longer clinging to old images of them in our mind, so that a new chance can open for both sides. When we let go, the air between us grows lighter and long-accumulated tension can begin to dissolve. Reconciliation is the next step after letting go. If letting go is setting down the burden, reconciliation is looking straight at that burden, seeing what cords bind it, and gently untying them. Reconciliation requires sincerity and patience. Some resentments can be healed with one apology and one embrace. Others require years of rebuilding trust and months of practicing compassion and forbearance. The Buddha taught that hatred is never ended by hatred. Only compassion ends hatred. Many people want reconciliation but begin with blame. I've endured you for so many years, now you must. That approach only reopens old wounds. True reconciliation begins with listening. Listen without cutting in. Listen to understand, not to refute. When we understand the root of someone's behavior, we see that the other person is also suffering, and compassion can take root. An elderly woman once told me that she and her younger sister had not spoken for 20 years because of a land dispute. One day she heard a Dharma talk on impermanence and thought, "If my sister dies before I can say a kind word, I will regret it for the rest of my life." The next day she sought her sister out, did not mention the past, and simply asked, "Are you well?" Her sister embraced her and wept. Those 4 words, "Are you well?" shattered 20 years of silence. That is the power of letting go, and reconciliation beginning from the simplest thing. No harsh words, no need to win, only the wish for a lighter heart. In spiritual healing, a powerful method is making a vow. A vow is the heart's call toward the good. a commitment to oneself and to the universe to walk a new path. Vowing to let go and reconcile means promising not to nourish resentment anymore and to replace it with understanding and compassion. A vow can be kept silently, spoken aloud, or written down. What matters is that it arise from sincerity, not from force. We can vow like this: may I have enough calm to avoid answering with anger. May I have enough loving kindness to see the other person suffering. May I have enough patience to wait for the flower of reconciliation to bloom. Whenever anger arises, remember that vow like a lamp that lights the way. Another important part of spiritual healing is dedication of merit. When we do a good deed, even a small one, dedicate that merit to the relationship that is in discord. For example, when we help someone cross the street, when we recite the Buddha's name, when we stay calm during a difficult conversation, silently think, may this merit help both of us lessen resentment and suffering and soon find peace again. Such dedication not only sends wholesome energy to the other person, it also nourishes goodness in our own heart. Some enmities take many lifetimes to resolve. Yet each time we let go, each vow we keep, each good deed we dedicate is like one more cut to the rope that binds us. One day, when the rope snaps, our heart opens wide and the old anger is gone. Letting go and reconciliation not only free us from present suffering, they also plant wholesome causes for future lives. If we carry resentment out of this life, that resentment will pull us back together with the same people in another life to continue the cycle. If we leave this life with a tranquil heart and the knot untied, the bond between us will turn into a wholesome affinity or will end if that is what is needed. In the first half of life, we may stumble, make mistakes, and create many tangled karmic ties. In the second half, if we return to the Buddha's name, using the breath and the recitation as a rope that anchors the mind to the shore of peace, karma will gradually be transformed and blessings will multiply for the present and for lives to come. To recite the Buddha's name is to remember the Buddha, to bring his image and vows into each breath, each step, each daily task. When the mind remembers the Buddha, it is less likely to drift with greed, anger, and delusion. Each Namo Amitabha Buddha is like a wholesome seed planted in the field of the heart. The more we sow, the less room the weeds of affliction have to grow, and the more space there is for the blossoms of peace. Many people think reciting the Buddha's name is only for seeking safety or rebirth, yet in truth, it is a way to train the mind right now. When anger arises, if we can remember the name in time, the anger will not flare into fire. When we feel anxious, the recitation is like a small lamp guiding the mind back to its path. When we are joyful, recite so that joy remains within mindfulness and does not turn into conceit. There is an elderly woman in my hometown who began reciting the Buddha's name after her husband passed away. At first, she recited a few dozen times each morning. Later, she recited more, while sweeping the house, cooking meals, and resting. She said, "Reciting calms my mind. I think less about sad things and remember less of what causes me pain." Everyone in the neighborhood noticed that she had become gentler, less irritable, and that she always wore a light smile. This is the blessing the practice brings, the blessing of a mind that is less agitated and creates less karma. In the latter half of life, the time that remains is as precious as gold. Do not let it slip away in resentment, scheming, or useless worry. Each day, reserve time for the Buddha's name as a farmer waters a precious tree. That seed will grow, its roots will go deep, and when storms come, the tree will still stand firm. Reciting the Buddha's name does not require complex forms. Let the mouth recite, the ears listen, and the mind know. That is already practice. One may recite silently or aloud, with beads or without, as long as the mind abides in each phrase. At first the mind may scatter, but do not be discouraged. Like a novice striking a bell, the first strokes may not be pure, but with practice the bell will ring clear. Remember that the merit of recitation not only eases suffering now, it also creates blessings for future lives. The Buddha's name sown in the heart is not lost, like a good seed stored in a granary. When conditions come together, it will sprout. And when this life closes, that seed can be the boat that ferries us to the shore of peace. Reciting the Buddha's name is planting wholesome seeds in the mind. To allow the seed to spread and nourish not only ourselves, but many others, we need one more step: dedication. Dedication means offering the merit we have just created, not keeping it for ourselves, but extending it to all. It is like someone with a bright lamp who opens the door so that its light spills into the whole neighborhood. The wonder is that the light does not grow dim by spreading. It becomes warmer and brighter, nourished by a mind that does not cling. After each period of recitation, set aside a moment of stillness to dedicate. No ornate wording is needed, only sincerity. We can silently vow, "May the merit of today's recitation be dedicated to my living parents, that their blessings and years increase, to my deceased parents, that they be reborn in wholesome realms, to relatives, friends, and all beings who suffer, that they may be happy and free from karmic obstacles, to those who have hurt me and those I have hurt, that every knot of enmity be untied and turned into a wholesome affinity." Such a vow not only carries merit far, it also makes our heart ever more spacious. When the heart is wide, blessings naturally grow. Blessings are measured not only by how many recitations we do, but also by the breadth of our compassion. After reciting, many people think that dedication means giving away their merit and fear that doing so will leave them with less. Yet merit is not like money. Give money away and you have less. Give merit away and it multiplies. It is like a single candle that can light thousands of other candles without losing its flame. Indeed, the whole room grows brighter. Dedication of merit is also a way to forge wholesome affinities. When we dedicate merit to someone, a thread of wholesome karma forms between us and them. That thread can draw them nearer to us in good conditions, or help dissolve unwholesome ties. Even with people we have never met, the energy of dedication can reach them like the fragrance of flowers, which does not choose who inhales it. There is an elderly woman I know who, every evening, recites the Buddha's name and dedicates the merit to all those suffering in the hospital near her home. She says, "I don't know who they are, but I know they are in pain. I hope the blessing from my recitation will blow to them like a cool breeze." Years later, when she herself was hospitalized in old age, the doctors and nurses all cared for her, and the patients in her room all helped her. She said perhaps the blessings she sent out had returned. Therefore, in the second half of life, practice reciting the Buddha's name to purify the mind. And after each session, dedicate the merit. Make dedication a habit like breathing. Do not wait until you have done some great good deed to dedicate. Dedicate even when you have simply held back one harsh word, nurtured one wholesome thought, or forgiven once. Blessings are already precious, but blessings that are dedicated are doubly so. They not only bring us peace, they open a door of peace for countless beings. And when many find peace, the world around us naturally holds less suffering and resentment. That, in turn, is the best environment for the seeds of our merit to sprout and remain evergreen.